what they're doing. They get to hear what you're doing. And, you know, everybody was impressed by each other, you know, depending on what session you walked into. You know, we was walking into fucking Tribe Called Quest sessions and De La Soul sessions and, you know, all kind of shit like that when we was working at Calliope. And then at Chung King, you know, Leaders was working there, fucking all kind of people, Run DMC. Like, it was, you know, mad people.
Right.
So, yeah, it was definitely a lot of that.
I posted something earlier and asked the viewers what their favorite songs were. We don't have to go through every song on this album, but just take us back to some of your favorite memories when I mentioned some of these songs. Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. That was a joint that my man, you know, we was digging for records, and my man Sin-seer, I think, found that Allahu Akbar sample, like, you know, and once I heard that, I was like, oh man, we gotta work this somehow. We gotta make this work. Then I found the bass line with some George Benson sample or some shit like that, and put the drums with it, and, you know, the rest was history. Like, that was one of the early ones we did, you know. To me, because Pooh Bah's album was already out, you know, and 360, I like 360. I like the darkness of it. I like the bass, you know, and I wanted something not in that vein, but I wanted something that, you know, kind of dark and bassy like that, you know, like my version of a dark and bassy song.
Right.
And Allahu Akbar was the first one, you know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, that's a strong one. I fucking, and I love that. Like, we start a lot of shows with that song. Like, that's just a great starter. And, you know, the way it starts and then it builds up and then it just, the energy comes in. And by the time it gets to the hook, the crowd's ready.
Right.
You know what I mean? The crowd is ready.
Pass the Gat.
Pass the Gat. Shit, basically that's like a Second Amendment song. You know what I mean? Again, shout out Papa Murphy. We just digging, man. We digging in the Murphy fucking crates. And now, see, I'm not a sample nerd like that. I can't even tell you a lot of these, who these samples are. You know what I mean? To all the sample snitches, shout out to y'all. Y'all probably know, you know, whatever these samples are. And if you are, shout it out in the comments or whatever. But that joint right there, yeah, it just stood out. It was just a dope-ass sample. I remember, I think Dave Kennedy played the bass that's on there. And yeah, I just found some dope drums to go with it, and that song is just, again, it's not about pass me the gat so I could kill a black man and all this type of shit. Basically, that's talking about defending yourself from tyranny. Okay, if the police, whoever powers that be, out here trying to take advantage of us as black people, we have to be ready to fight back. That's what that message was saying. So pass me the gat. I'm going to fight back. I ain't rolling over on my motherfucking back. You know what I mean? We are not the generation that's going to get, was getting sprayed with hoses and getting bit by dogs and allowing that shit to happen. Like, that's what we was trying to say with that song.
Right. Travel Jam.
Travel Jam. Man. You know, I'm glad to hear that people fuck with these songs, especially a song like Travel Jam, because that song just, you know, we was new to traveling and shit like that, you know what I mean? So we kind of wanted to just speak about how our life was since we started making records, you know what I mean? And traveling was a big thing, you know what I mean? And we had seen some things and we just wanted to share it with the people, you know what I mean?
Right.
I forget where that, you know, again, we found that in the basement. We found the sample in the basement. I forget what I sampled to put that together. Um, but yeah, the scratching on there, that's me scratching. And that song, I don't know, we used to do that overseas a lot. Like, because in America, I don't know, it seemed like they just want the main ones. You know what I mean? But overseas, they really want to, like, they won't be wanting the obscure shit. And like that Travel Jam used to go so hard overseas. Like they love that shit over there. Like I remember like, it felt like the stage was gonna break. These motherfuckers was like jumping so crazy when that shit dropped one time. I remember being in like Germany or some shit like that. And Travel Jam was kicking ass.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I love Travel Jam.
So one last song, and I picked this one out. You warned us about this 30 years ago, and here we are, 2023, Memphis, Black and Blue. Man, some of these black folks, just as bad as these white folks, is some of the lyrics in that song. Tell us about what you was talking about 30 years ago and where we are here in 2023.
It's crazy because I was just talking about this earlier today, how Black and Blue talks about black police officers, basically being the arm of white insanity, and that they feel like they're blue before they're black. You know what I mean? And they'll leave you black and blue. They'll leave you dead. They have no respect for, you know what I mean, for the black man, even though they're black themselves. And it's kind of because, the whole institution of policing and all of that, it just, you it just takes over. You know what I mean? It takes over the individual, and it's like they can't be black really no more, because part of policing is to oppress black people. Like that's a major part of policing. And just to see that 30 years later, a song like that can have such relevance right now. Like that I wasn't prophesizing anything. I was talking about shit that was going on right then. So 30 years later, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Actually, I guess it's worse in a way, because the shit I was talking about was shit that you knew went on, but there was no video of it. You know what I mean? Like, there was no video of it. I gave you a mental picture of it when we made that song. But 30 years later, shit, we can now do a video for black. Just play that shit right there, and let Black and Blue play in the background. Play the video of that and let Black and Blue play in the background. And that's the video.
How crazy is that?
How crazy is that? That's wow.
Yeah.
But it also goes to show how many rappers of today are going to have a song that will be prophetic 30 years from now. Because the type of shit they're saying is only for right now.
For the moment.
It's for the moment. See, we were intentionally trying to create classic music. We were consciously trying to do that. Oh, another thing you might not notice that I was trying to do on that album was like, because back then it was sides. It was actually vinyl. So there was a A side of the album and a B side. So the A side was like the knowledge side, like the darker side. So that's from like Allah Akbar to like Gods Must Be Crazy. Then you have the wisdom side, which is a lighter side. You know what I mean? And that starts from Travel Jam and then goes to like Punk Jump Up. You know what I mean? And if you listen, if you see the musical tones, you can kind of see that the A side is a little darker musically, and yeah, in its musical tones, and the B side is lighter, and that was done on purpose.
Wow, that's crazy. To get all
Yeah,
these fun facts at this point, now we're going to go back and we'll see, you know, how ahead of time you guys were 30 years ago.
crazy, yo, crazy. But that Black and Blue really fucking. I definitely thought about this Tyree Nichols, and I was like, wow, 30 years.
And you guys were just coming off of the Rodney King situation, but you've seen something different then, and how relevant that song is today is just mind blowing.
I remember being in the studio when, like, they started rioting and shit in L.A. Like, I remember seeing it on the news when we were in the studio, type of shit. Like, yo, they wilding out in L.A. Like, yo, and we think, and we've been talking about revolution and shit like that. And we was like, yo, this might be revolution right now. Like, I was like, but who would have thought it was gonna start out there? We thought that the conscious, some shit like that would start in the East with the conscious ones. Some deep shit.
Yeah. Moving forward.